The sound a phone makes when nobody calls it. It's not silence, it's something deeper. It's the sound of a decision finally paying off. I'm 85 now. 8 years ago, I did something my family called crazy. I deleted every single contact from my phone. Every name, every number, every connection to the world I'd built over 7 decades. My daughter found out and cried. My son drove 3 hours just to yell at me. Dad, what if there's an emergency? What if we need you? What if you need us? But here's what they didn't understand. I wasn't cutting them off. I was cutting off the noise. The endless, meaningless noise that had been drowning me for years. You see, at 77, I realized something that took me way too long to figure out. The phone had become a leash. Every ring was someone else's emergency becoming mine. Every buzz was another person's anxiety crawling into my chest. Every notification was a reminder that I belonged to everyone except myself. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. I remember because I was trying to read the paper and my phone rang 14 times before noon. 14 times. The first call was my neighbor asking if I'd seen her cat. The second was a robocall about extending my car warranty. The third was my nephew wanting to borrow money. The fourth was wrong number. The fifth was someone selling insurance. The sixth was my sister complaining about her husband. The seventh was another wrong number. The eighth was my doctor's office confirming an appointment I'd already confirmed twice. The ninth was my bank with some automated security alert. The 10th was my barber canceling my appointment. The 11th was another robocall. The 12th was my daughter checking if I was okay because I hadn't answered her text from an hour ago. The 13th was the pharmacy saying my prescription was ready. The 14th was someone asking if I wanted to participate in a survey about breakfast cereal. 14 interruptions. 14 times my thoughts were yanked away from whatever peace I was trying to find. And that's when I knew the phone wasn't connecting me to people anymore. It was disconnecting me from myself. I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you're still here, maybe you understand what I'm talking about. So I started deleting, not just the numbers I didn't recognize, all of them. My sister Rosa, who called every day to complain about something new. My brother Miguel, who only called when he needed a favor. My old co-workers, who called to gossip about people we hadn't worked with in 20 years. My neighbors, who treated my phone number like directory assistants. Even the numbers I thought I might need someday. The guy who fixed my roof 5 years ago. The restaurant I ordered from once. The pharmacy technician who was always so nice. Gone. All of it. Gone. The hardest ones were the family numbers. My children, my grandchildren, my few remaining friends. But I didn't delete them because I didn't love them. I deleted them because I needed them to love me differently. When my phone became an empty vessel, something beautiful happened. The people who truly mattered found other ways. My daughter started visiting instead of calling. My son began writing letters, real letters, with his handwriting, telling me about his days. My grandchildren learned where I lived, instead of just assuming I was always available at the other end of a phone line. The noise stopped. But more than that, the expectation stopped. Nobody expected me to be instantly available for their convenience anymore. Nobody treated me like a customer service desk for life's minor inconveniences. Nobody assumed that because I was retired, I was just sitting around waiting for their call. The quiet that filled my days wasn't empty. It was full of things I'd forgotten existed. The sound of birds outside my window. The texture of pages turning in a book. The taste of coffee when you're actually paying attention to it instead of talking over it. The rhythm of my own thoughts when they're not constantly interrupted. People ask me if I'm lonely. They can't understand how someone can go days without their phone ringing and be happy about it. But loneliness isn't the absence of phone calls. Loneliness is being surrounded by noise and still feeling unheard. Loneliness is having 200 contacts in your phone and no one to share your real thoughts with. Loneliness is being constantly available to everyone and never available to yourself. I sleep like a baby now, not because nothing hurts anymore. These old bones still ache every morning, not because I don't worry about things. I still think about my family, my health, my mortality. I sleep well because when I close my eyes at night, my mind isn't buzzing with the residue of a dozen meaningless conversations. My dreams aren't interrupted by phantom vibrations from a phone that trained me to jump every time it made a sound. My rest isn't held hostage by the anxiety of what tomorrow's course might bring. The phone still sits on my nightstand. It's still plugged into the wall, but it's not plugged into me anymore. There's a difference. If there's a real emergency, people know where I live. If someone truly needs me, they'll find a way that requires more effort than pressing 10 digits. And if someone just wants to fill their empty moments with my time, well, they'll have to find someone else. I've learned that not every ring deserves an answer. Not every buzz deserves attention. Not every caller deserves access to your peace. The most radical thing you can do in a world that demands your constant availability is to become selectively unavailable, to choose when you engage and when you don't, to remember that before phones existed, people managed to live, love, and stay connected through much more intentional means. My family understands now. They see that I'm not hiding from them. I'm not angry or bitter or antisocial. I'm just protecting something precious that I almost lost forever. My own presence in my own life. When we do talk now, really talk, it means something. When my daughter visits, she's not distracted by her own phone because she knows this time is sacred. When my son writes, his words carry weight because he had to sit down and think about what he wanted to say. When my grandchildren come by, they look at me instead of expecting me to compete with a screen for their attention. The relationships that survived my great deletion became stronger. The ones that didn't, well, they were probably just noise anyway. There are more stories I need to get off my chest. If you want to hear them, hit subscribe. I'll be here. 8 years without a buzzing phone has taught me that the most important conversations happen in the spaces between the noise. In the quiet moments when you are truly present with another person. In the silence that's so rare now that most people have forgotten what it sounds like. I'm not saying everyone should delete their contacts, but I am saying that maybe, just maybe, you should ask yourself, when was the last time you sat in complete silence without feeling the urge to fill it with someone else's voice? When was the last time you went a whole day without your emotional state being influenced by someone else's phone call? When was the last time you chose your own thoughts over someone else's interruption? The phone companies want you to believe that connection means constant availability. Social media wants you to think that communication means instant response. But real connection happens when two people choose to be fully present with each other. Real communication happens when someone has something worth saying and someone else has the space to truly listen. At 85, I finally learned the difference between being connected and being tethered, between being available and being trapped, between hearing from everyone and listening to anyone. The silence isn't empty. It's full of possibility, full of my own thoughts, my own pace, my own choices about when to let the world in and when to keep it out. Every night, I look at that phone on my nightstand. Sometimes I almost miss the chaos. Almost. Then I remember what it felt like to be everyone's emergency contact, but nobody's priority. What it felt like to have my attention scattered across dozens of conversations that meant nothing to anyone, including me, and I sleep like a baby. Not because the world stopped needing things from me, but because I finally learned that I don't have to be available for every need the world thinks it has. Some of the deepest peace I've ever known has come from this radical act of unavailability. From choosing silence over noise, intention over impulse, depth over surface. If that makes me crazy, then I'm grateful for the madness, because it's the sanest thing I've ever done.